Hey everyone, Nicholas Fairbairn, and this is our Acknowledging Emotion series, and today I am talking about abandonment. So I'm going to talk from my personal journey, and I'm going to give you some tools to support you through this, because I know a lot of people do feel this, and it's quite a deep wound for so many of us. So I guess, what is abandonment? Abandonment is feeling unsupported, alone, lost, scared, feeling like you maybe don't fit in, feeling that you just don't belong here potentially, and that I guess nobody understands you or really knows how to support you through life. So abandonment is something that many of us have. So I'm going to talk about my personal journey and when abandonment first came in for me. So when I was 4 years old, my mother and father separated. They were actually, to be honest, that's a lie. They were actually separated, and this is really interesting. This happened while I'm doing this video. It's gone deeper. I realized how much deeper it's gone. Is my mum, when she conceived me, actually, my mum and dad weren't together. So she had to make that decision whether, to keep me, understanding that it would be quite challenging bringing up somebody on her own, or, not to keep me, which is the choice of every single woman to understand if they are capable of taking care of a child when that situation occurs. So from that very beginning, there was an aspect of me that felt not wanted. Maybe there was a thought that my mother had that was, you could imagine a single woman who has just now been found out that she's having a baby to a man that she's no longer with. There would have been, although me and mum have an amazing relationship, there definitely would have been, even if it was just 1 second, one moment, where she would have felt a little bit of fear of, oh, should I go through with this? So maybe that part of my emotion stems from that. But fast forwarding to when I was 4, I feel like that's when it majorly kicked in for me, because my dad was still in my life till I was 4. And then at 4 years old, he was kind of gone. And I remember feeling abandoned. I remember not understanding it. So there's a couple of memories that I really are quite clear. There was one moment, and it's not just one, it was quite a few moments, but there was a position in my bedroom where I would be able to look out the window sitting from my bed. And there was many a times where my dad said that he was coming to visit me. So mum would say, your dad's coming to visit, and I would go and I'd be really excited, and I'd sit there and I'd look out the window, and there was many, many moments where mum had to come in and say, he's not coming. Okay, so you can imagine how a 4, 5, 6-year-old child just didn't get it. So it was kind of like from 4 on, before 4 he was consistent in being around in my life, although he had another family, and still to this day, I am not known by the other half of his family. They don't know that I exist. So I actually have stepbrothers and stepsisters who don't know that I'm here. So that aspect, of course, feels abandoned. I'm not good enough for that family. I'm not good enough to be told about. I'm not good enough to be your word and be a man and show up when you say you're going to show up. So there's a lot of deep wounding around being abandoned as a child. And even now, so I'm 33 years old now. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he rang me for my birthday, happy birthday. So I hadn't heard of him from 4 years before, but then it was like, oh, happy birthday. It's just a really weird, uneasy feeling of that. So that's my personal experience with abandonment, and that is been in all, it's kind of that program is kind of gone through my life of not being good enough and feeling unsupported. I felt unsupported in relationships. I've been, abandoned in relationships, quite brutally. And that's because that's a story that we create. So what we do is we create people to mirror that. So we create people to literally abandon us, to prove to us that that is our story until we're ready to acknowledge that and break through that. Okay? The longest I've ever held a relationship, like a romantic relationship, is 2.5 years. And most of my relationships have ended by somebody going straight into a relationship with somebody else. Or cheating on me whilst being in relationship with me, which, is very hurtful. And as I said, it continues that story of not being good enough, not being supportive, not being acknowledged. So we all have our stories. Our stories are not us though. And as we grow and evolve, we start to tap into who we truly are. And we have to clear these stories. So one of my deepest is abandonment. And I also sometimes feel abandoned from, you can call it spirit, you can call it from God, the universe, whatever, of not being understood, not being acknowledged, not being supported, being, someone that really cares about the world and actually wants to make a difference. And, financially in the past being on my ass, physically being, with the pneumonia and the glandular fever, feeling so unsupported on so many levels, and just really not understanding it. And now I've got a deeper understanding that it has made me the man that I am today. It has given me a deep understanding to support other people through this, and to, I've dealt with all the wounding, and I'm sure there will be stuff that pops up, because there's sometimes always isn't. That's my memory, the 4-year-old child, and I guess being born and being through that experience. But there might be other memories that pop up and we clear. So how can I support you through this? What tools can I give you to support you? So as you all know, I absolutely love essential oils, and they've had a really profound impact on my life because I find that they work on that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. So they can support as a whole. So there's 5, I forgot to charge my thing. There's 5 oils that I'm going to chat about. All right, so the first 2, especially for me, frankincense. So frankincense is the divine masculine. So my dad wasn't a representation of what I believe a man is. And I never got to experience a man in my life supporting me, but it also meant that I never got to experience my mum, because my mum had to be my mum and my dad. So I never got to experience her in her divine feminine, and she never got, she obviously she did her 100% best, but she had to take on 2 roles. So that I never actually got to experience the divine masculine, and or you can call it the sacred masculine, or Mer is the divine feminine. So if you have woundings around abandonment of father or mother, you may have been adopted, you may have grew up in a single parent family, you may have had parents that were so busy working that they weren't emotionally present. So it doesn't just mean physically out of your life, it could be emotionally. So for example, my mum was physically in my life and she was emotionally there for me. However, there would have been aspects of herself that couldn't be 100% with me because she had to take on those 2 roles, which, she stepped up to that plate and did it bloody well because, look at me now. However, I didn't get to experience my mum, not as true as I could have. So yeah, those 2 oils are really, really powerful. Next oil is ylang ylang, inner child. So I had to be the man from 4 years old. Even though I didn't want to be, I wanted to be a child. So I, and we all have that. Some of us have had to grow up too quick, and we never got to experience being a child and letting that light shine of who we are. And This helps us and supports us to tap back into that. So that's ylang ylang. On guard. This is a protective blend. So this is something that can help us feel protected on so many levels, because if we don't feel safe, we can't grow. So for those of you that feel unsafe or feel like, oh, something behind me, I can always have to look around, this is an oil that will really support you to grow through that. And I really like this Salubel. This is an oil of spiritual insight. So helps me feel connected to source, whatever you believe in. To know that there's a higher purpose, there's a higher good that's actually got my back. Truly, the reality is I have been supported. My dad played an amazing role. He played a role to show me what I don't want to be in a man. Okay, that's the truth. I love him, but he showed me what I don't want to be. So he really stepped up to the plate to give me that lesson, which I chose. And the reality is I have been supported on so many levels, just wasn't aware of it and wasn't allowing of it because of the story of not feeling good enough. So we want to be able to clear this. And I find these oils help in a diffuser to breathe in. I use Salubel on my third eye, crown, chakra, crown, and then also breathing in. And a lot of those other oils just diffusing. So feel into how it works for you. I like ylang ylang on my heart. Frankincense I just breathe in all the time. I use frankincense every day. And on guard, I really love in a diffuser as well. And you can put it up here as well if you feel. So moving forward, what can we do? How can we work through this? So I'm going to give you a bit of an exercise where I want you to do some visualization. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back. So when you're doing this, do it in a space where you feel safe, and you might want to be alone. I would recommend that because you may cry, you may release emotion that's been trapped for quite a while. So take some time out. Don't have anything planned after it. And you can do this as often as you want, and the first memory might then open up to another memory. So what we want to do is we want to sit and take 3 big breaths, and you can put some oils on before. So I want to bring out the inner child. So I'm going to use some ylang ylang. So take in 3 big breaths. So what I want you to do is go back to that first memory you have of being abandoned. So for me, it was when I was 4 years old. I want you to get on your knees, or you can sit, and I want you to sit in front of that child. So for me, it's 4-year-old Nicholas. And I want you to sit in front of that child and say, I'm sorry for how you've been treated. I'm sorry for how you feel abandoned. I'm sorry for people making you feel like you weren't good enough, for feeling unsupported, and ultimately feeling alone and afraid in this world. I'm sorry, you deserve better. What I want you to do then is I really want you to look in that child's eyes. Look into that eyes and smile. And let them know that you are here. You are here to support them. You are not going anywhere. You will always be here. You love them more than anything in the world. You are 100%. You've got their back. You've got them. You're supporting them. And I really want you to just sit in that space. Now I want you to do is I want you to embrace that child. So put your arms around that child and hold them. And let them know that it's okay to let go of fear. to let go of worry, to let them know they are supported. Sit in that space. Really let them, you, embrace that. Because that aspect of you who felt unsupported, who felt abandoned, that's not serving you anymore. So what I want you to do now is look into that child's eyes and say, are you ready to come with me? Are you ready to come with me on this journey of life? Knowing that I am here for you, knowing that I am not going anywhere, knowing that I feel your fear, I feel your sadness. And asking them, would you like to come with me? And if they say yes, hopefully they will, hopefully they're ready, and they may not be. Maybe not right now, maybe you need to, it's not the right time. But if they're ready, I want you to hold their hand. I want you to get up with that child. And I would like you to imagine walking back to where you are right now. Them sitting with you on your lap, holding them, embracing them, letting them cry, letting them release every single emotion that they've held in for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of their life. Letting them release that, knowing that they're home. And once they've released that emotion, I want you to bring them into your heart. And breathe in, fully integrating, knowing that they are home, you are home. And as I said, this may take a couple of times. This may be something that you may not be ready to forgive. You may not be ready to release. But the oils are really powerful tools. Visualization is really powerful. Acknowledging that that emotion is there is the most powerful thing. And this is what a lot of us have done. We have pretended that we're not hurt. We have pretended that we're okay with the way people have treated us. And of course, moving forward, we just have to acknowledge that it happened and it was for our highest good, and to truly step in and to understand that this is for the highest good of ourselves and for the highest good of all, and truly acknowledging that there is a higher power, whatever that is for you. As I said, something that has your back, even though you may not have felt that in the past. And then now, the emotion that we bring in is supported. Yeah, for those of you who've been following my videos, my new favorite word is bloody. One of my favorite words, I'm bloody supported. I'm supported in all aspects of my life. And just really feel supported. Like where you're physically sitting, you're supported. Or standing, you're supported. The ground, Mother Earth is supporting you. There are so many layers of support that we can tap into once we realize that it's there, once we open our eyes to acknowledge that that exists. So that's abandonment. All right, and we're now shifting abandonment to supported. This is a deep core wounding of society. It's a really big one, and that's why it's one of the reasons why there's no real connection. You know, there's surface connection, but most people are too afraid to actually be themselves because they're scared of being abandoned again, because they've already felt that deep wound, they've already felt that deep hurt, and they just can't go through that again. So let's just acknowledge that and maybe draw a picture Maybe you could draw a picture of feeling unsupported and abandoned, burn that, and then bring in the new support. Support from the highest aspect. Support in every single breath, every single second, every single moment. Yeah. So hopefully that has supported some of you. And this is my series that I've just decided I want to work on. And I'm going to be going through every emotion. And there's a lot. And we're going to be together and we're going to clear what doesn't serve us anymore. You know, what's holding us back from our greatness. So for those of you that don't use the oils yet and feel like I could be an amazing mentor, just send us a message. The oils, as I said, have been profound in my life, and yeah, so many aspects. And obviously you get my support as a coach, as a mentor, and I will hold space for you so you can feel vulnerable, so you can step into that space of unknowing, because that's where the magic happens. Magic happens in that space that we've been so afraid to step into, but have desired to step into for our entire life. It's where we get to be real. It's where we get to find ourselves. Where Nicholas was. He was hiding, afraid of the world, afraid of connection, afraid of just not being worthy enough to be here. And the reality is, I'm more than worthy enough to be here. So are you. We are great, we are magnificent, we are beautiful, we are magical, we are phenomenal, we are supported on so many levels, and there is so much connection, there is so much love, there is so much joy, there is so much peace, there is abundance in all these. Spectacular is the word. Life is just magic. And it's time for us to own that, embrace that. Peace out, love you all. Just send us a message if you need some connection. Love you.